Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today I want to speak talk a little bit about um, c- civility, I guess, when it comes to politics or common sense. You may think I just hate Trump no matter what he does. That's not necessarily true. Don't get me wrong, I don't like the man, but it's because he's well earned my ire and dislike. He has done nothing so far to truly help the people in a meaningful way. One of the talking points I often hear the right want to spout out is like, he was helping with carrier right from the beginning and keeping jobs here in the Midwest. No. You see, they already planned to close down their plants regardless. And so these plant jobs Trump supposedly saved, ended up going away anyway. So he didn't save the jobs. The only thing I agree with him on, and I do, on a minuscule level, a few things I agree with him on, because the great majority of the time, he spouts nothing but a cacophony of lies and stupidity. But like a clock, every like a clock that's broken twice a day, he's going to be right. So every once in a while, he does something, and then you've at least got to go, okay, I'll give you credit for that. And I think it's something that's missing in our politics. Like, I did not want the TPP, the Trans Pacific Partnership. It was already explained this was a corporatist deal, and it would have affected many of our policies here in the U.S. Had a huge negative effect. And I could not back it. But these corporatists, these globalists, I don't like saying that because I sound like Alex Jones, but it's really the people that want a global economy were providing no real option that helped the U.S. in the TPP. It would only help them make money for big business and the rich. It didn't help the average person. So I'm against the TPP, and I'm glad we didn't join it. So I give him credit for helping us pull out of that. Syria. We started pulling out of Syria. Anytime we can pull out of war, wonderful. The reasons for it, though, we did not defeat ISIS. We did not defeat the Taliban. There was still a lot going on. But we did need to leave. It was accomplishing nothing for us. So I congratulate him on pulling out of Syria, but not necessarily his reasons. I mean, the fact we're out, that's good. Now, if he would stop selling weapons to Saudi Arabia and the UAE that they use to attack Yemen, would pull us out of Afghanistan, then I would congratulate him on that. But he hasn't yet so far. Instead, he thinks it's better to sell missiles than allowing them to buy them from the Russians or the Chinese. You shouldn't have been selling them missiles in the first place. It's just making us complicit in their atrocities. But he doesn't care. But Saudi Arabia, we need to back away from them anyway. But anyway, the TPP, Syria, and I will give him credit. This previous week, he went from, or he was the first president to set foot in North Korea. I give him credit for that. That shows a lot of, at least that shows he's attempting to create a balance, a relationship between the U.S. and North Korea, which I love. I agree with wholeheartedly. I don't think the Democrats should be whining because he's going into North Korea. Anything we can do to end that war that's been in a, partial truce for, 50 years now? 60 years? Maybe longer? It's just, yeah. But I give him credit for that as well. People may want to say, well, what about Iran? He didn't attack Iran. He created the crisis because he seriously considered attacking them. And then he backed away. So no, I give him no credit. So, the TPP, Syria, and North Korea. Those are about the only three things he's done that I can give him credit for. Other people may go, well, what about his tax cuts? Please. Look at his tax cuts. The great majority of those went to the wealthy and the corporations. 1 point, what was it? $2 trillion that we could have used to help pay off debt or other issues is instead a tax cut that the wealthy and the corporations now do not have to pay. I think there was a small percentage that went to the middle class, but it was nothing that really helped. The Republicans were trying to tout it for a while there. Well, you can go and eat a lunch. How does that help? How does that help? People are still in dire straits. And people may point at the economy and go, well, our employment number is better. That's because there's been a huge number of people drop out of the economy. They've quit looking for jobs because the only ones available weren't worth anything. They didn't pay enough to help them survive. They often had to work 2-3 jobs, which is another reason why the employment number is up. The ones that dropped out, others are having to work 2 or 3 jobs, so it's filling up other job positions. It's not because he's a genius and fixed the economy. No. He's only just provided money to allow companies to perform stock buybacks, which put a temporary float on the economy. Everyone's still in dire straits. But I know the right-wingers won't give a damn. They don't care. Of course, everything's so partisan anymore. I think it's 2 reasons that it has become that partisan. Number 1, the FEC has set up rules that in the general election, to even be considered for the presidential debate, you have to have a 15% or higher vote, of Americans to even get considered for the debates. So if you're not Democrat or Republican, you have an extreme task to overcome because you have to get over that 15%, which has been an almost impossible number to overcome. 2016, the Libertarians got 3% of the vote, and the Green Party, I think, was almost 2%. You look back over history, the only one who really was able to rack up that kind of attention under the FEC was a man who had resources and wealth, Ross Perot, because he had the money to provide the commercials, the advertising, and everything to get his name out. And that's the only reason he got enough attention so that he had 15% to get into the debates. Everyone else, you look back over history since the FEC's been doing this, almost no one's hit that 15% mark. And it's basically a sticking point that, no one can get past. So you end up only hearing in the presidential debates Democrat or Republican, Republican or Democrat. we're only allowed to hear those two parties. And guess what? They're bought, but both sides are bought by the rich. Which is why I vote for progressives. Bernie, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, Ro Khanna, Pramila is it Jayapal? Yeah, Jayapal. And others in that progressive vein. People who want economic equality, to make things equal, to treat us all equal. Honestly, that's probably the best way to recognize progressivism is equality in income, equality in treatment, you know, equality in standing. No one should be higher than anyone else. That's kind of the idea. You're an American, you deserve the health care. You shouldn't be kept from getting your health care because you're poor. You're an American. You're one of us. And you deserve the same health care as anyone else. You know, the boss where you work should not be making 50,000 times what you do, even though your labor is just as important as theirs. That's the idea of progressivism. I think a lot of people don't understand that. But anyway, back to what I was getting to. I kind of hopped off the track there. I enjoy progressivism. It's the right idea. Equality. But the FEC basically preventing other groups from getting on the debate stage has caused it to only hear Democrat or Republican, Democrat or Republican. That's one reason why. The other is Ronald Reagan's FCC took the 1949, I can't remember the name of the law, but it was basically fairness in media, or Truth in Media Reporting Act. Something like that. I can't remember the exact name. But the idea was to tell the news, the stories, as truthfully as you can, to the best of your abilities. Don't just lie to the American public. We had went through an era of yellow journalism for so long at the turn of the century, from about 1895 throughout the early 1900s. And so in 1949, it finally got to the point where it's like, we want you to just be truthful. And so that was in place to keep all news organizations just providing facts instead of propaganda and lies. And it was Reagan's FCC that took that law to the Supreme Court and slowly dismantled it piece by piece by piece. And you notice by the end of Reagan's term, if you've ever studied the history of Fox News, that's when it became that it started its whole run under Roger Ailes, providing falsehoods and propaganda. And to this day, it lies. It provides propaganda. Don't get me wrong. MSNBC lies. We've seen it numerous times. CNN lies. Seen it numerous times. The other networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, they have their own agendas. But that's why I feel if we had a Honesty in Media Act again, something that held them to account, in both print, radio, television, and internet sources of media, if we had a law holding them to account, we would have a better chance to know exactly the truth of what's going on. Instead, again, all we hear is talking points. And so it's propaganda fed to us from news organizations, lies fed to us from news organizations. The FEC basically preventing other parties from being heard. And that's why there is this division. I know there's a lot of people who won't want to admit that. But honestly, you look at it and it becomes crystal clear that's what's going on. And who ran these organizations? The FEC has its members are former politicians and big moneyed interests. These news organizations are owned by the rich and corporations. That's why you have to understand that they're not good for America. They're very, very wrong. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of point this out. Trump is an idiot, and it's not a partisan feel. It's just, he's an idiot. Look at the truth of what he says. He's a moron, but I'll give him credit when he deserves it. But so far, he's done barely anything to deserve any credit. But remember, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. I'll see you all again in the next video. But until then, later.